Okay, so far, so this is the default page for our web app. This is the login page. If we come into our front end code, the login, sorry about that, the login page is gonna be right here. Login view. And this is the name of the view. So if we come back, sorry about that. If we come back right here to the view, I've edited it to be pretty minimalistic, and this button, the sign in with Google button, is right here. We have the login method, which is right here. So whenever you click this button right here, this sign in with Google button, it triggers this method, this login method, which has this specific function, window.location. It triggers a function which is in our backend code, which can be found right here. Although you can ask more questions about it tomorrow when we meet up, but this specific code is basically an API call to the back end, which triggers our code for logging in with Google. We have already implemented that. Most of the work is done with the Google Authenticator, and all we have to provide is a link, and Google Authenticator will do the rest of it. So the only thing you have to know about this part is, yes, this login method basically triggers or calls our API from the backend, which triggers the Google authentication, right? And so from there on, once we click it and the function is triggered, all the other work is done by Google Authenticator. From here on, it will prompt a user to log into their Google account, and we have already used an account and set it so that it only accepts logging in from emails compatible with our organization. So we use the oc.edu account, which is why it only accepts oc.edu emails. And so after logging in, you come onto our home page, which we'll talk more about in person. This current page is it's not necessary at all. Our professor already talked about this. The important pages are, the task and events, the strength and weakness pages, your experience page, and your profile page. So once we click the tasks and events page, we currently don't have anything here because I've been trying to connect the front end and the back end together to retrieve tasks and events, and I've not completely worked out the function of retrieving and displaying the actual tasks and events. Hopefully when we meet I'll have figured that out, but the only thing that I've gotten to work is here. When you click the experience page, it will show you the user's current experience, right? So all this stuff here is not hard coded. It's retrieved from the database. So I can come back here into our front end code and go to experience view, right? Experience view, yeah. And if you check the code, inside the experience cards, which are basically, sorry about that, the experience cards are basically these ones. This is an experience card, and so is this one and this one. So these rectangles are experience cards. As you can see from the code, you see we don't hard code anything, so we have a paragraph which is basically a line showing the category which we're deriving it from, category, type, points earned, start date. All this is not hard coded, but it is retrieved from the backend. All that code is right here. All this is retrieved from the backend code and the database, which is pretty much right here inside the routes, but more into the models. So experience model. So you see this whole category, type, and whatever stuff is defined inside the experience model right here. And this experience model basically defines, Gabe will explain it better, right? Gabe will explain it better, but the whole point of this code is to define a model that exists inside the database so that the backend code can reference or access it. So let's start with what is the purpose of this recording. The purpose of this recording is to show the viewer what we have going on so far, but it was made especially for our sister, so you can see and understand exactly what we have. I've pushed our front end as well as the backend code to GitHub, so you can go ahead and clone it so you can see it by yourself and understand it better. The front end code, sorry about that. Okay, so let's do that. The front end code can be found on my branch, which is called TSKS. I can't remember the last edit, so I'll just call it that. So if you clone, or if you just do a git pull on this branch called TSKS, you'll have my up-to-date front end, which consists of all this. Alright, I forgot to mention this part, my bad. So once you sign in, once you sign in with your Google account and you come to your profile page, it's going to show you your name and it's going to have your picture. So this name and your profile picture is gotten from the backend, and if I open my backend code right here, when a user logs in, the the terminal or your instance will return this current values. It will return your user email as well as your picture. You see the picture is right here with this URL. If you click this URL, it will show you your Google picture or your Google account picture, which is what we use to show this specific picture right here, the one I have here. So on the profile page, the only thing I've already managed to pull from the backend is the user's full name as well as the email. As well as the profile picture. For their major or their class, this stuff is still gonna stay hard-coded because we can't pull it out from the backend because we don't have data from colleague. The professor will explain this later if he still gets the chance, or we can do this later, but unfortunately we can't make our backend code display a specific user's major or class. For these things here, I've not decided, or we have not decided as a team, how we're gonna retrieve them from the backend, because our backend currently does not show these things, right? But I've tried to make sure I can connect the front end with everything we have in the backend. So again, I've already shown you for the experiences. If we come into our backend, we have a word model, badge model, document, event, experience, flight plan, as well as task model. But I've only gotten to connect the front end with the experience model, right, or the experience route, which is the one that does the routing from all that and that. Again, Git will explain it better, but our experience view, everything that you can see from here is derived from the backend. So all these cards you see, I guess this is supposed to be the type of experience, which is coding bootcamp, and this being the category called a workshop type, and this right here is the description, I guess, or yeah, it's the description. Yeah, these things in full text are descriptions, and we have our points earned. All this stuff is retrieved from the backend, which can be explained in detail if you get to understand what we have in our database. And looking into the database, you've got it right here. Try to focus on this part of the terminal. We're currently using our database name, which is called Eco Flight Plan. You all can have it named differently on your own database, but for me, in order to get this thing working, I had to name it Eco Flight Plan. I had to change some names of tables, create some column names, etc. So when you get to work this on your personal computer, you'll probably have to go through the same thing I did. Anyway, you get to see our tables, which are right here: the badges, awards, documents, events, experiences, flight plan, and tasks. So again, in order for me to get this whole backend code working and connect it, I had to change names of tables. You'll probably run into this when you're trying to set up your database and try to have your backend communicate with it, because inside our controllers or our models we have, actually I think it's in the controllers, right? Yeah, right here. So we have, different controllers having different names. So for example, here for the word controller, it accesses it inside the what? Inside the database as words, and not this. You'll definitely get to see this when you try to implement this on your own computer. For example, if you just clone the branch and attempt to run it and test this, you'll find out that most likely your database table names won't match with what our code has, which is what happened to me. And instead of having to change my code, I went ahead and renamed my tables to match my code. That was what was simpler for me. It might be different for you, but yeah, as you can see, go ahead and try to check what the name is here and rename your table names according to this. Or if you already have your table names set to a different name, you can rename this part of code, and sorry about that, and just go ahead, let's double click that, and change all occurrences and change it to whatever your table name is, okay? But I don't want to do that. I just changed my table names. Anyway, for the reference, if you have some sort of errors with, for example, I'll give you one right here. I hope I didn't fix it yet, but if I try to access the tasks API, I get an error. Let's change that to tasks. Yeah, it shows me an error that there's an unknown column inside our database table called description. So when you have things like this, sometimes it'll show you unknown column in field. When things like this happen, you can come into your database, which is right here in this part of my terminal. I'll go ahead and write describe. When you write describe, just go ahead and follow it up with a table name you want. So for this instance, we're going to describe tasks, right? And that describe this. Yeah, I tapped it wrong. And then describe tasks. Alright, and once you run that query, it's gonna show you how your tasks table is set up. I'll show you I don't know if they're called subtables or whatever, but if you understand SQL more than me, you know what it is. But this query will show you the layout of this specific table. It will show you the data types being shown inside the table. So for example, it's telling us there's an unknown column called the description, and we have this description column right here. So I'm guessing the issue is this column is not supposed to be there, so you'd go ahead and remove this column. for another reason, which I probably fixed all the others, but you might have an issue of a column that does not exist. It will show you, a non column, and it will tell you the name of the column, and then it'll say it does not exist. When that case happens, you can check this on the internet, but you'll just go ahead and use the alter statement and alter the table, specific table. For example, what is that? I'm trying to go back into my code, but it's not working. But if you check into Google, there's a query which you can use to alter tables, and once you click the alter query plus the table name and click enter, then you'll get into another command where you can then put in the specific command to create a specific table. A specific column inside the table. Hopefully this is making sense. If it doesn't, you will probably have to look deeply more into the code that I have provided. But I'm trying my best to explain this. Sorry about that. Anyway, I was still trying to explain these experience cards and where they came from. I hope I made that clear. Now, going to our strength and weakness view, you'll see this, and if you come into our front end code, which is right here, strength and weakness view, you'll see that if you scroll down into the code that you have cloned, you'll find out that every part of it is hard-coded inside, so none of that comes from the back end. So you might ask yourself why. The reason for this is because we don't have any API calls to enable us to actually take this assessment. Gabriel and I had talked about creating an AI of our own that would enable the user to take the assessment and create results for them, but it wasn't easy. And we knew it would take time, so we didn't want to spend most of our time on working on that aspect of the code when we would spend it on working on the rest of the code. But thankfully, the professor has already mentioned that this part of the code doesn't have to stress us a lot, because even they can't provide the API. The specific provider of this test does not have API usage, so it's up to the school or Professor North to figure out what to do with this page. Or I just haven't attended enough class to know what they're going to do with this page. But I'm pretty confident what we have on this page is currently enough, right? We don't have to worry about it for now. As for the demo, right? So here is where the issue currently leans, and this is a big issue because the professor has mentioned that the tasks and events view or page is the most important one. When a user logs into the page, the professor has mentioned that it would like a user to see immediately, their tasks, to see what they have to do next, and to also view or see the upcoming events on campus. Mike will have to discuss about this home page. I'm guessing we'll probably have to remove it or whatever, but we'll talk about it more in person. But yeah, this is the most important page, which I've tried to. I have the code for it. I have the front end code for it, which is tasks and events. I have almost every single aspect of it coming from the back end, trying to retrieve data from the database. But the issue is, yes, I can retrieve data, but I can't retrieve tasks because I'm having trouble with tables and columns, which I can't fix because my actually I can fix it now. I couldn't fix it earlier because my code editor was bugging. Sorry. Anyway, again, I would like to stress on the fact that the tasks and events view is what we need to work on. This strength and weakness view is totally complete. We don't have to make any changes to it as for now. The experience one, I will probably have to do in order for the demonstration is add more experience in the database to showcase right here, which after you clone my backend code, which is called disconnect lace, if you clone the backend code, I'm pretty sure you already have it. If you just switch to this branch and make a git pull, you'll have all my code. It'll show you the current experience. So obviously I can go ahead and write a curl command to add experience. I'll just go ahead and where is experience model. Add an experience carrier fair. So right, this is the problem I'm running into my model, but I can probably write a curl command pretty similar to right here, create a new experience. And I can copy that, come here, well, paste it right here, and change the name to what I want. Name, what experience would I like? Let me just say code for experience branch. This for purposes of the demo of the video. Points earned, let me just make this 690 points. Okay, right, then I'll copy this and paste it inside my terminal. And voila, it went up. If I check so what I have here on this part of my terminal is the server, the node server running. And so this is where I get all the responses for everything that I do in regards to the server. For example, it's showing me that I executed that default experience selection or whatever, and it showed me everything that I tried to enter, and my crawl command shows me that it was successful, right? How can I verify that it's successful? Obviously I have to make a get command. I'll use my curl to get all the experiences, right? And it's gonna show me that. How can I see it right here? Well, I'll have to restart my server. Unfortunately, this server does not update in real time, so if I make changes, I'll have to, restart the server in order to view the changes. Okay, so I just restarted that, and I'll come back to my front end and reload it, and it should show me the new experience that I added right there. Our code for experienced friends. You see, it's right there. And so voila. I haven't slept much, so I'm probably not making the most sense with this explanation of the code, but I'm pretty sure that people are gonna view this code already know how most of it is running and are also able to view it in person. Just go ahead and open the branch that I'm currently working on. So for my backend code, for my front end code, the current branch is called TSKS, which stands for tasks. As for my backend code, the branch name is connect/lace. Okay, just go ahead and open those branches. Run a node server.js command on your backend to have it running, and make an npm run serve on your front end to have your front end running, and you should be good to test all this. Alright, again, I'm gonna do a better job of explanation in person. So yes, thank you for watching.